Good morning, I'm Chris Fox, and today we're talking about my low effort launch. So it's been a while since I've done a marketing video. Most of the marketing videos that I've done have gone over launches I've done in the past in excruciating detail. And you guys have seen in 12 Weeks to a Trilogy and some of the other challenges that I've done what my approach is to launching. Well, this time I tried a new experiment. It was a little bit different than what I've done before. And normally this is kind of scary. It's something I've been thinking about doing for a while. But it could mean less revenue, and so I didn't want to take the risk. So what is it that I'm hinting at here? I decided I was going to do kind of a low effort launch where instead of arranging a bunch of mailing swaps with people in my genre and finding various services that cater to these readers and doing advertisements to them, I would do a minimum amount of advertising and I would just reach out to my own list and my own social media. Basically, I wanted to take the Pareto approach to this launch, which is I want to do 20% of the effort and get 80% of the results. So my book maybe won't do quite as well as if I had pulled every single lever, but the question is, how close does it get? Because if it's very similar, if it's almost as good, then clearly doing a little bit less effort and freeing up that time for me to devote to other areas, writing more books, creating the course that I'm working on, any other endeavor that I've got on my plate could be a better use of that time. So today we're going to take a look at how I did, how the launch went, and how Spellship, the book in question, is doing alongside the first two books of the Magitech Chronicles. So the rest of the video is going to be my screen. You're going to see some ranks on the various books, and I'm going to talk a little bit about tactics. But the long and short of it is this. I spent about $50 a day in advertising. That was spent roughly equally across Facebook, Amazon, and BookBub ads. And I've been tinkering a little bit with each one based on copy that I've used on previous books and previous advertisements. So at this point, I've got a pretty good idea of what's working and what's not to sell these books. I just turned on some new ads with the Spellship cover since that had just launched. And then I also put books 1 and 2 on sale, as you'll see in the next segment of the video. We did Kindle Countdown deals. So anyway, without further ado, let's jump into that second section of the video. We'll take a look at exactly what I did to launch Spellship. And if you guys have questions about that, feel free to ask them in the comments. And as always, if you find the video useful, please toss me a like and consider subscribing to the channel. All right, guys, next part. Okay, so we are looking at Author Central. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit so it is legible. Currently, the rank of Spellship is 1,600 in the store, which is wonderful. Very, very pleased with that. On the first day when I launched it, I told my list. It went up to about number 1,200 in the store. You can see it stayed there for a couple of days. And then, of course, after telling my list, I wasn't doing much to promote it, so you can see that it fell all the way down to about 1,600 and kept falling until it almost left the first 2,000. And I was getting a little nervous at this point. I knew it was going to take time for things to kick in, but it was hard to wait and hard not to, suddenly start messaging authors and be like, hey guys, can you promote my book? But I wanted to stay the course and make sure that I was only using my own channels, and so I waited. And sure enough, it started creeping back up, went back up to 1,600, then it went to 1,400. You can see, it slipped a little bit the next day, and then it jumped up to 1,300. And an interesting thing, right now it's at 1,600, but typically what happens is by midnight, it'll shoot up in rank. So I'm suspecting it'll probably be around here or possibly even better, but somewhere in the same neighborhood. And you can see the book is doing pretty well, and this translates into some great revenue. If we jump over to TechMage, so TechMage has been out. You can see that it has a very similar curve upwards. I put TechMage on sale for 99 cents. I didn't do any additional promotion. So this is basically people that are finding it because they see Spellship as a new release and they realize, hey, I want to check this out. What's the first book? They go look at the first book. It's 99 cents and they buy it. So you can see, kept going up and got all the way back up to about number 2,000 in the store. And that was after it having fallen to about 11,000. So if you look, the book has been out since September. And as always, you see the slow slide. So initially, here it is climbing back up. It ended up peaking at number 93 in the store. That was my big, exciting celebration. And then it just keeps sliding down where the rank keeps getting worse until finally, on November 30th, I put out book 2. And that helped the rank for a while, but it still kept falling, as it always tends to do. It was rough over the holidays, just because there's so much noise in terms of advertising, so much competition from other authors. And then, you've got that rockiness where it's still falling for a ways, and it would have kept falling had I not released the sequel. But then all of a sudden I put the sequel out, and we're coming back to kind of where it was before. It's getting very close to where it had launched. And the same is true for Voidworm. So all three books have been pulled up. All three books are doing pretty well. All three books are earning. And if you look at earnings, you can see that it had fallen for, this was just for Tech Mage and Voidworm, but the two books put together, there were many days where I was no longer breaking $100. And this is because we're not in a launch window. The books had been out for several months at this point and desperately needed another release to prop them up. And of course, as soon as I did that, you see this spike upwards and the earnings per day starts to jump. Now they're a little lower here because I am charging 99 cents for the first two books at this time. And then you can tell when that changed, the first day that it jumped, this is when I raised the price, and all of a sudden we almost broke 400 for all three books. We're going to see something similar probably by the end of the day today, and I'll see probably also several more similar days before it begins to slide. And all that's driving this, again, is about $50 a day in advertising, which I'll begin ramping down starting tomorrow, and just the fact that I've released a new book. So they are doing very, very well. I am very happy with how Spellship is performing. And what's really important to note here with Spellship is that I didn't spend any money on this launch at all beyond about $350 in advertising. There was, none of the stuff that I would normally do. And I also didn't invest a ton of time. And there was some logic there. Every time you release a book in your series, you sort of have two choices. You can tell everyone in the free world, and if you do that, you're going to get the maximum amount of immediate sales, but you're also going to exhaust the channels you might be able to use. Most authors are not going to announce every single book you release in a series, and so it's smart to choose who you're talking to and what you're asking of them carefully. So in my case, I'm already in the fourth book in the series and working on that now, and that should be done in the next probably 6 weeks. So my thought is, at that time when I release the fourth book, I'll approach another swath of authors and ask for some help launching it, and I'll do a slightly larger launch. Then for book 5, I'll probably do another low-effort launch. And when book 6 comes out, that's when I'm really going to blow the doors off, tell the entire free world, and I'll actually release the first 3 books as a box set at 99 cents to try to drive sales. And I'm going to try and push it into the Amazon Top 100 at that time. But in the meantime, all I have to do is keep this top of mind, keep releasing books, keep getting people to buy it, keep it in that top 10,000, so that I'm earning, several $100s a day. And that keeps the bills paid. I mean, I've also got, obviously, nonfiction sales and military science fiction sales and all my other books, so this is just part of it. But, when you add it all together, it starts looking like some pretty solid days, and that buys me the time necessary to get out more books in the series, and then, of course, do that big launch I want to do sort of at the end. So that's why I approached this way. That's why I did a low-effort launch. And the beauty of this is I didn't stress on it. I put very little time into it. I got the book out there. Fans are finding it. I'm making good money. And I'm already on to the next book. So very low stress. I mean, 2018 has probably been my least stressful year as an author yet, just because I'm taking time off. I'm not looking at the sales numbers as closely. I'm really working on the stories and the prose and the craft and still making good money doing it. So anyway, if you have questions, there are inevitably questions about how I launched it, where I spent money on advertising, any of that stuff. Feel free to let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to answer those. And again, if you enjoyed the video, if you think it's useful, please throw me a like. And if you don't, throw a dislike or say something in the comments about why you didn't like the video. I'd love to hear that too. So there you go, guys. I have a lot of work to do as always, so I'm going to get back to the writing, and I will see you next week.